Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy edition with just a couple of security articles on the end of this guy. A little bit shorter of a show here today, but hey, that's okay. You can join the show live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays if you'd like to catch the show live. First, we have an update. I did mention this the other day, and I just had to do this update because this is a positive thing. And I had said these AirTags that Apple is doing is deeply concerning because what if you go by and you throw it on your ex-spouse's car that you're trying to stalk and whatever else, and this could be a problematic thing. Well, it actually turns out that I wasn't the only one to think about that. Even Apple thought about that. And so Apple actually has AirTag anti-stalking feature. So this completely does away with that previous article. I'm like, I'd be deeply concerned about any of this type of stuff because Apple has actually worked on it. Now, there's some history here. Apparently, as far back as the beta in iOS 13, they actually had the code for this, and then it vanished. And then also, though, the AirTag code vanished as well. But with the 14.5 beta, both the AirTag is there and the anti-stalking features there. So how does this work? Well, since the Apple devices track where things are based upon connecting to an iOS, your iTunes account and to your Bluetooth, the things are always reporting things back. So if your Apple device would detect any one of these Apple Air trackers that's not connected to your iPhone account that seems to follow you around, you will get a notice. Now, what does this mean when you're on a bus trip with somebody that has one next to you? Well, you're probably going to get warned about it, and it'll cause these awkward conversations like, excuse me, do you have one of these eye tracker things? Yeah, I do. It's like on my luggage. Good. So you're not stalking me, right? No, I'm not really stalking you. Excellent. I feel so much better because my phone keeps warning me that somebody is stalking me. And that's the type of thing we wanted to kind of avoid. So I'd rather have this awkward conversation with the bus that you've been driving 600 miles with, rather than having some crazy person stalk you. And that'll actually be something that shows up later on in one of the later sections. I don't think it's this section. Maybe it is. Oh, I think it is. Actually, I think it is an article here coming up. But anyway, there is our update. So Apple has thought of it, and it will alert you if a Apple device seems, or an Apple AirTag seems to be following you around. So cool. There we go. My fears have been subsided a little bit. Thank you for that one, Apple. And The Verge, first they brought us how to build a computer. Now they're going to help us on our password security. Of course, we know that LastPass is changing their model. This caused a lot of people, including this channel, which did a video about Bitwarden and KeePass XC as alternatives to LastPass. And then the week after that, last week on the news, we covered that several Android trackers were found inside the LastPass app. Well, now even The Verge is like, hey guys, let's get off of LastPass. Let's help you. Migrate to Google. I'd rather stick on LastPass than Google, people. Okay? Really? Verge, yay. Once again, you have demonstrated your sheer competence in all things technology. Why don't you go ahead and do a special on this? You can release a DVD of building a computer and of teaching people to do LastPass. And there are a few of these other ones that showed up as well. So, of course, they're telling us this is a good possible alternative. Send your passwords to the browser? Oh my Lord, what are you doing, you nonsense? That's crazy. Of course, Google does have this password manager now, so you can sign into your Google account, keep it safe, and log everything over to Google. No. Use KeePass XC, use Bitwarden. Way better options. That is way better options. That is it. Yeah. So Klobuchar and Murkowski, which sounds very close to my name, Murawski, of no relation, of course. And I have been called Murkowski before. And I don't know, it's a politician, so that might be an insult. I'm not completely sure. So anyway, on the Hill, these two, Amy Klobuchar and Lisa Murkowski, up in Alaska and Minnesota and Alaska, they are teaming up to pressure the FTC to have something in place about these websites that publicly share information. So most people, you can go online, type in their name, and you can get their phone numbers and their real addresses and things like that. Now, way back a long time ago, you pretty much had exactly one place to go to without going through some major hassle. That one place you would have to go to is the phone book, which only covered local regions, and it was very easy. You used to have to pay. You have to pay like, $5 a month or something, have your number unlisted. And when it was unlisted, then what would end up happening there is people couldn't find you quite as easy. Well, now in the internet age, it's very easy to just type in somebody's name and you'll have 100,000 searches. And some of those you have to pay to see the results, but a whole lot of them are just completely free. In fact, there was one organization that started up about, 3 or 4 years ago that everything was completely and perfectly free. In that very short period of time when they happened, there was an opt-out period. I actually found the thing and opted out of it myself. And to my knowledge, I didn't show back up in that thing. I can't remember what it is now. But what they're addressing, of course, we have to save the hurt people. And for sure, we need to do things to protect people who are certainly victims of domestic abuse and things, because this is certainly a problem. But hey, what about us YouTubers? I would prefer to have this stream, and I know that a whole lot of people would find it hilarious if some SWAT team kicked in my front door, but maybe, just maybe, we should have some universal privacy laws in this country that says you can't publish my data on your website under any circumstance unless I've given you a very explicitly clear, in writing paper opt-in work. Because I would like to bring you guys an excellent show without my notes being derailed by an AR-15 in my face at the hands of some crazy SWAT team. Okay? And the swatting is real. The swatting is real, guys. And so we need to look at the insanity of our current world. Like, we're in such a world, you say something that triggers some woke moron, and then they'll go ahead and start doxing you all over the place and then encourage everybody and their brother to show up on your front lawn, and before you know it, I have a candlelight visual of blue-haired people outside screaming and chanting for my head on a pole. And it's problematic. I know, I'm just blowing this way out of proportion. But nevertheless, these two are starting to say, hey, we need to kind of do something. What can we do? And this really doesn't provide a lot of anything. It's very, I read 3 or 4 of these articles. None of them had some substance. I just brought it up to say, hey, at least somebody is thinking about this problem of privacy on the internet for just your basic standard, where do you live, what's your phone number, privacy type stuff. I don't know. And on to our final story for today. Google claims it will stop tracking, I should say final privacy stories for today. We have a couple security news as well. So Google claims it's going to stop tracking individual users for ads. So right now, they kind of track every little thing tied to an individual person and feed that data in. Now, one of the theories I had for why Flash lasted so long, even well beyond the period of time that it should have died, is that it was actually being used to store a lot of cookie data. Now Flash is gone. We're back down to just the crappy browsers and their measly little 100 bytes or whatever of data those crappy little cookies could store. And more browsers are getting better at killing these things, and so all these companies are like, I give up. Not even gonna bother trying anymore at this point. And so what we're looking at here is that Google is going to say, sure, let's stop trying to track individuals. What they're going to be doing now is tracking groups of people. This is definitely a step up. I still don't like it. I still don't want personalized ads, but they are looking at more aggregate data and less individual data. And if that means that less individual data is going to be stored on their servers, I'm all about that. That's a fine thing. Is that exactly what's going to happen? I doubt it. I believe Google's probably still going to be collecting all the individual data. They're just going to be aggregating it later and selling the aggregate blocks instead of the individual blocks. And when we say selling, we're really meaning leasing. I know Facebook's right saying, we don't sell your data, we just lease it, you know. And Google, that's what they do, the same thing, okay? So, I'm not interested in seeing personalized ads. Nothing infuriates me more than I'm looking for something on, somewhere, and then the damn ad for it keeps on tracking me and tracking me and tracking me and tracking me and tracking me everywhere on the site. It makes me, just an FYI for any marketers out there, it makes me not want to buy your product. I will throw your product off of my list of things to even consider if I'm searching for some product and then that's all I ever see. But here, listen to this weirdness. If I start doing research online for new microphones and I see an ad for a microphone before a video about microphones, it makes sense. I'm probably watching a video on microphones because I'm interested in microphones. Just a thought. I know that's weird, that's crazy, but I don't need you to throw what you think I want to see in front of my face every turn. It's going to make me crazy. And that's really where I think people are at. So now, though, they're trying to isolate things into aggregates instead. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before. It might be a step in a better direction. It might just be a step in a direction that's a little bit more difficult to figure out. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, have a look at my affiliates. Today we're highlighting Linode. Head on over to tlm.li/Linode. You can get $100 in credit, good for 60 days. You can spin up a ton of little servers over there, play around with them for a couple months, see which ones you want to do. This is what I did. I ended up moving a lot of my hosting stuff over to Linode because it works great. So you can go ahead and sign up there on my account there, tlm.li/Linode. Now let's head a look over at security news. And on security, well, Gab was hit by a hack, a data breach, and they were then hit with a $500,000 ransom demand. Large trove of data was taken. The funny thing about Gab, though, let's see, they don't require your phone number. They don't require your first name. They require an email address and a password. So, yeah, it's bad it was hacked, it's bad it was breached, but comparing this to other things, to other platforms out there, it was disclosed in less than a week. No data was collected because Gab doesn't collect any information beyond what you intentionally give it. Now, there's something in here about plain text passwords. No, that's for groups. That's always been plain text, and that's very clear. It's because they're meant to be passed and spread along. So group passwords have never been secured. But other than that, they got usernames, email addresses, and hash passwords, direct messages. Really, that's not a whole ton of information. I went with this article here on CNET because it was the most neutral. Everyone else is like, all these and all this. Like, guys, let's see. Every other company has been hacked like this, so deal with it. So what? At least these guys admitted it early on, and the service may not be for you, but frankly, so what? A company like this gets breached, they don't have a whole lot of data. Something like Facebook or Twitter, they get breached or unauthorized access, which has happened many times. They have access to a lot more information. So Microsoft is now issuing emergency patches for issues in Exchange. So Exchange has, I think that's like 7 or 8 different active exploits in 0 days. So they're actually patching these as best that they can. So they're pushing some of these out. So if you are administering any Exchange emails, definitely keep those up to date. These were the 4 that they pushed. There are some more that need to come out soon, but I guess they don't have those patches out. So also just something to be aware of in the event that you are utilizing Microsoft services for company emails or things like that, that there is some active day exploits going on, and take appropriate steps there. Finally, you can help support the channel over on Patreon. This supports all 3 of my channels. We have the Linux over here at Switch to Linux. We have Writing Done Right, and we have the Christian Studies as well. You can jump on over there, patreon.com/TOMM. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.